Bit 16, you've never seen a review like this. Weird old games you cannot tame, this world that you miss. SNES Man is the champion, he is 16-bit. SNES Man is the champion, he is 16-bit.
This is SNES Man, and welcome to Mosh March. Today's game is the classic 2D fighter Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct was made by Rare, the British company that brought us Donkey Kong Country, GoldenEye, and Banjo-Kazooie. I shouldn't have to tell you that these guys were brilliant. They squeezed great 3D graphics out of the Super Nintendo that still look pretty good today, almost 20 years later. But it wasn't just graphics that made Rare great. Their games were respected for their creativity, fun factor, and this weird kind of charm they had. I can't even describe it, it's just there, I guess. Let's get down to gaming. Which character should we choose? There are 10 in total, which is pretty standard for the time. I'll pick Jago the Generic. He's your typical ninja. At least Killer Instinct only has one ninja, unlike Mortal Kombat where you can't hide from the army of palette-swapped abominations. This is a fun game. It's not pretentious or anything, it's just you and some other dude battling to the death. If you've played any Street Fighter games before, then you're pretty familiar with the battle system. All the characters have different ways of punching and kicking, and they also have their own set of unique special moves. Unlike Primal Rage, which I reviewed last month, the controls here aren't too difficult to learn. Rare isn't too ambitious in this category. They just combine the button combinations from Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter into a cohesive whole, and I've got to say, it works pretty smoothly. Killer Instinct isn't a revolutionary game, but it wasn't trying to be. Instead of focusing on inventing a new fighting genre, it just tries to be fun. And it does succeed at that. For example, all the characters are unique from each other, no clones, so trying them out isn't a chore. My favorite is Raptor. I know he kinda sucks, but he's a freaking raptor. I have no shame. How many games out there let you play as a raptor? Well, Jurassic Park for the Genesis, but that game has all kinds of problems that I don't want to get into. I'm SNES Man, not Genesis lad. Die, Cinder, you pompous piece of shit. Anyway, I always have fun when I play as Raptor. Ouch. He just ripped Raptor a new one. Okay, what about the other characters? I already mentioned Jago the Generic. He's basically Ryu from Street Fighter but with ninja clothes. Jago Unchained. He's even got a really cliched Hadoken move. It's exactly the same, I'm not kidding. But in Killer Instinct's defense, all the 2D fighters of this time period had a rip-off of the Hadoken, and I don't blame them. It's such a cool attack. Now, other characters. We've got the fire and ice characters, Cinder and Glacius. We've got Spinal the Skeleton, who looks like he belongs in a Jason and the Argonauts movie. There's TJ Combo the Boxer, Saber Wolf the Wolfman, and Orchid, who is the only woman. Orchid! She's really crudely drawn and just plain embarrassing on Rare's part, so let's move on. Oh yeah, there's Chief Thunder. What was with these 90s game companies and their obsession with thunder and Native Americans? Whenever Chief Thunder uses his special move, it sounds like he's saying, "Beans!" Beans! Beans! The last character is Fulgor, the cyborg. He's the guy on the front cover, and I have to say, he looks pretty cool, and he's definitely one of the more intimidating characters. Despite some cliches, the different fighters are all pretty likable and fun to use. Killer Instinct throws in a fun game mechanic called the Ultra Combo, which allows you to string together a bunch of attacks in a seemingly endless combo. Luckily, this isn't as cheap as it sounds, because if you're fighting another human, they can do a special button combination called a Combo Breaker that ends your reign of terror. I was never great at racking up combos, but some people really love this feature. Another subtle game mechanic I liked was the one-round system. There's no round 1, round 2, or round 3, just one long, continuous fight. This keeps the gameplay more intense and gives it a unique, fast-paced style. And Killer Instinct has fatalities like Mortal Kombat. Should you be excited? Well, sort of. You can do finishing moves, but they're not as gory or nasty as you would expect. Now, I didn't grow up playing this game, so I don't really know how to do these moves, but I can tell you that they're not too special. Killer Instinct was more Street Fighter-ish than Mortal Kombat-ish because it focused more on the actual fighting, not the fatalities. For that, I give it some credit. What else does Rare do well in this game? Well, obviously the graphics. The sprites were pretty big for the time, and they move around really fluidly. The game has a sweet, semi-realistic art style that reminds me of Donkey Kong Country. All the sprites are 3D. They've got a computer-generated look to them that separates Killer Instinct from the other fighting games of the decade. The others either had an anime style or digitized actors. The audio department isn't as stunning in my opinion. The music is pretty good, a little forgettable, but pretty good. The sound effects though, am I the only one who thinks they're ridiculous? Ow, turbo combo! It sounds like they just sampled 2 sound effects for every character and then played them over and over. Why? Couldn't they have played fewer sound effects? Why do we need to hear a bunch of stuttering grunts every time someone gets punched? It baffles me. Things to make it better. Better sound effects, and don't play the same ones so often. Change some of the more generic characters like Combo and Chief Thunder. Redraw Orchid, that's all I'm gonna say. And finally, add some unique fighting elements. The combo system and the one-round system were nice, but they weren't exactly new. Killer Instinct scores an 8 out of 10. That's our first game of Mosh March. If everything goes according to plan, my next video will come out near the end of this month. And that one is going to be Street Fighter Alpha 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys then.